Welcome back to the deep dive. So, when you hear Detroit, I bet your mind probably jumps to, those older stories.
Yeah, the auto industry decline, light economic struggles.
Hmm.
It's a narrative that's stuck around for decades.
Exactly. But today, we're pushing past that. We're going to dive deep into what Detroit is like now, its modern reality, its resilience.
And we're doing it using some really unique source material for this deep dive. We've got a whole set of personal reflections.
Right, from students, actually. Aspiring young entrepreneurs who toured the city recently.
And they didn't just hit the usual tourist spots. They went to places like uh, Good Cakes and Bakes, Motor City, Blightbuster.
The real grassroots stuff.
Yeah, but also the high-tech innovation hubs like Space Lab and New Lab, and even the UM Center for Innovation right there.
So this isn't just about what they saw, it's more of a ground level look at what it actually takes to start something with purpose in a city that's, well, actively rebuilding itself.
It's a city in massive transformation.
So our mission here is to pull out the key insights. What's the unique flavor of entrepreneurship there? What are the real challenges, especially in a place with so much change happening?
Okay, so let's unpack that. The first thing that jumps out, I think, is how quickly these visitors realized the past isn't the present in Detroit.
Yeah, that initial mind shift seems huge. The students came in with those old ideas, right? Expecting maybe widespread decline everywhere.
Definitely. And they did acknowledge, some areas still show that uneven development, older buildings.
Sure, you can't ignore that history.
But the main feeling they described wasn't pity or anything like that. It shifted quite profoundly to excitement and anticipation
Interesting. So they stopped seeing it as just a story about the past.
and started looking at its future potential, assessing what it could be.
Okay, but that assessment gets complicated, doesn't it? Because Detroit itself is, well, complicated.
Yeah.
Geographically.
Oh, absolutely. It's enormous. One student called it a controversial place
Yeah.
because it's just not uniform at all. It's fragmented.
It's that physical paradox, right?
Yeah.
You can't just define Detroit by one neighborhood.
Exactly. One part might feel really spread out, almost like South Lyon or a more rural area.
Yeah.
Lots of space, older buildings.
And then just blocks away.
You find these spots that are super dense, polished, modernizing really fast, almost like a mini Chicago, as one reflection put it.
Think about that contrast. Like near Comerica Park, it feels like a proper downtown core.
Mm-hmm.
But then you drive out to Livernois, maybe, and things just spread out. Businesses, homes, much more space between them.
Or even Corktown. It's been revitalized, sure, but there's still just so much green space or room for new development. Like a surprising amount of land you wouldn't expect in a major city center.
And that sheer size, that footprint, creates a real practical challenge, right?
Mhm.
Especially for entrepreneurs needing resources.
Yeah, the students picked up on that. They figured Detroit probably has, just as many resources overall as a smaller city, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Institutions, funding sources. But because everything's so spread out, those resources feel harder to reach. You really have to work to connect the dots, to pull things together. It takes effort.
Okay, so we've got this picture of a physically fragmented city. Huge contrasts.
Right. But looking at these entrepreneurs they met, what really ties it all together? What's the common thread?
It seems to be this deep sense of mission.
Exactly. They came through so strongly in the reflections.
Yeah, this is where it gets really compelling, I think. The uniting factor for pretty much every business they profiled was this focus on the community, on making things better. It went way beyond just making a profit.
And often it came from personal experience, right? Founders using their own lived struggles or maybe their families to spark their business ideas.
Building solutions for problems they knew firsthand.
Which is why we absolutely have to talk about Motor City Blightbusters. They're like the epitome of that grassroots resilience.
Yeah, MCBB. Their approach is amazing. It's not just one thing. They're in boardrooms chasing funding, but they're also literally out there cleaning streets, fixing up abandoned houses.
Tackling blight head on. And they do community stuff too, right? Like fish fries, jazz bands, things that bring people together.
Creating safer, healthier spaces, especially for kids. It's really holistic.
And that story about Devil's Day and Angel's Day, that's incredible.
Isn't it? A masterclass in changing the narrative. John George, the leader, his passion just radiates pride, according to one student.
So they took this awful tradition, Devil's Day, which was tied to destruction around Halloween.
Right, arson, vandalism.
And they managed to flip it. They created Angel's Day using publicity, community energy.
Yeah, channeling all that energy into something positive, rebuilding instead of destroying.
It was a conscious strategic move. It shows your mission can't just be internal talk. You have to actively shape how the public sees the environment you're working in. That's a huge lesson.
Okay, so that's the super grassroots end of the spectrum. Powerful stuff.
But then the sources also highlight this growing high-tech innovation side of Detroit.
Right, places like Space Lab.
Yeah, supporting smaller architects, helping manage public art projects, and doing something really practical, like providing a Detroit address for shipments and funding.
That sounds small, but is probably crucial for little firms trying to get established, right? Gives them legitimacy.
Exactly. And then you've got New Lab down in Corktown. That's playing on a more global stage.
Often working with big players, like Ford.
That's where you see the future-focused innovation, especially around mobility. They're involved with things like the POGO app development.
Securing permits for drone testing, vehicle testing, stuff like that.
Yes. All that complex groundwork.
Okay, hold on a sec. Why is that kind of support from a place like New Lab so important? I mean, why can't a startup just, figure out drone testing on their own?
Well, because navigating the bureaucracy, especially in a fragmented city that's also trying to lead in new tech-like mobility, it's really hard.
Ah, okay. So New Lab provides the scaffolding.
Pretty much. The Ford partnership helps, connecting to city regulators. It cuts through a lot of that red tape. Otherwise, a startup could just get completely stuck.
So it's like a shortcut through the complexity, connecting them with the legal support, the technical know-how.
Exactly. Necessary support to actually operate and scale that kind of advanced tech.
Got it. And then tying the academic world into all this is the UM Center for Innovation.
Right. Downtown, hosting grad classes, certificate programs.
And they're aiming to serve Detroit natives, people from the Midwest, even international students. It's a big hub for skills, career changes.
So you see these layers building up, right?
Right.
The deep community work,
Like MCBB,
the tech infrastructure,
U Lab, Space Lab.
and the academic pipeline from UM. It's all converging.
Okay, but let's put a critical lens on this for a moment. This deep focus on mission, on community. It's inspiring, no doubt. But for a founder who needs to scale, maybe quickly, does that intense community focus sometimes, distract from the basic need to build a financially solid business? Does it add extra complexity?
That's a really good question. And it leads us right into the practical hurdles the students definitely noticed.
Right. The sources make it clear. The opportunity in Detroit feels immense, but actually doing it involves real friction. So if you, listening, were thinking about moving there to start something, there are challenges, starting with just getting around.
Mobility, that came up again and again. It's a major infrastructure gap.
Students used to denser cities like New York were apparently quite shocked by how limited the public transit is.
And for a founder, that's not just like a personal inconvenience. It shapes your whole business.
How so?
Well, think about hiring. If people can't rely on buses or trains, they probably need a reliable car.
Which is instantly a barrier for a lot of residents.
Exactly. And if everyone is driving, then you deal with parking costs, traffic. It adds time and money to everything.
Your whole business model has to account for a spread out workforce, spread out customers.
And that ties into the density problem, too. Low population relative to the huge land area.
Right, low density. One student voiced that anxiety. If I open a shop, how many people are actually going to walk by each day?
Yeah, that's a real concern. And it's backed up by that story about Good Cakes and Bakes.
Oh, yeah. Tell that one.
Well, they got this amazing offer, right? A free second location. Sounds perfect.
Dream come true for an entrepreneur.
But they had to close it down because the specific area, it turned out, was just too run down. It couldn't generate enough foot traffic to sustain the business.
Wow. So that shows the risk, doesn't it? Navigating those neighborhood differences. One block might be booming.
And the next block is practically a commercial desert. Market segmentation is incredibly high stakes there.
And this unevenness, this fragmentation, it makes finding capital harder too, right?
Definitely. Grants are crucial for many entrepreneurs there. But the students emphasized, getting them isn't easy. It's a specialized skill.
You need that developed know-how, knowing where to look, when to apply, how to navigate the process.
It's not just free money lying around. It takes work, connections maybe.
And finally, networking. That ecosystem is still growing.
Compared to a massive hub like New York, one student pointed out, Detroit is just less diverse in who you might bump into. Meaning those random chance encounters. Meeting a key funder or a project champion, just grabbing coffee. it's maybe less likely to happen spontaneously in Detroit right now.
Because the network, while growing, is smaller, more centered around those known hubs.
Exactly. You likely have to be more intentional about networking.
Okay, so lots of practical challenges, but the biggest shift these students described wasn't even about business logistics, was it?
No, not really. It was more personal, a transformation in perspective.
Yeah, the reflections really stressed this desire the students felt to be around people different than myself, to get out of their own bubble, their echo chamber.
That seemed to be a huge takeaway. Learning about the realities of blight, equity issues, the mobility challenges.
It allowed them to grasp community needs, not just as abstract ideas, but as lived realities for the people there.
That empathy piece is powerful.
We should also touch on that cultural nuance someone raised. It was quite specific.
Yes. The student who was excited about the art, the music, the culture.
Which sounds great, but they also voiced a concern.
About whether their own personal political logic. They mentioned being aligned with conservative views, referencing Charlie Kirk and loving Jesus, how that would fit with the diversity of thought in the city.
And with their potential customers, presumably.
Right. And look, we're not endorsing any specific viewpoint here, just reporting what was in the reflection.
Absolutely. But it's a crucial point about vulnerability, isn't it? If you're a mission-driven founder, leaving your ideological echo chamber might be just as important as leaving a geographic one.
That's really well put. Connecting with the whole community means recognizing the market, the workforce. It's complex, politically varied. You need real empathy, real audience awareness.
So when you weigh it all up, the trade-offs, what are the pluses of working in Detroit?
Well, the sources say access to this growing network of really supportive, socially conscious entrepreneurs. Affordable space is still a big one.
And the chance to make a real tangible impact, right? To actually help shape the city as it grows.
Definitely. The kind of growth Detroit demands, it takes more resilience, more creativity than just launching something in an already smooth, established ecosystem.
But there's that personal challenge, too. Adjusting to the city versus suburbs, maybe, and needing patience.
Patience is key. Seeing the city as this dynamic work in progress, not a finished product. You have the sleek new areas right next to the undeveloped ones. You have to be okay with that juxtaposition.
So wrapping this up, what's the big picture story of Detroit right now, based on these reflections?
It's undeniably a story of energy, momentum, really innovative rebuilding happening.
The narrative has shifted. It's moved beyond just the crumbling past.
Yeah, it feels like a place of, well, hope. And the engine driving, it seems to be that deep mission-driven commitment from residents and entrepreneurs who are sticking with it, building it back.
So if you're listening and seeking professional growth that really pushes you, demands resilience, demands creativity,
and lets you grow with a city that's changing.
and make a difference on the ground level.
Detroit offers something pretty unique right now, hard to match elsewhere.
Okay, final thought time.
So the sources keep bringing up diversification, right?
Yeah.
Moving Detroit's economy beyond just relying so heavily on automotive. That's key for stability.
Makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Detroit's future success really does hinge on this resilience, this community support we've been talking about, here's the provocative thought.
Okay.
What mechanism, what system needs to be in place to make sure that the growth that happens is fair? That everyone gets to share in the progress, not just the new businesses, not just wealthier people moving in, but the longtime residents too. How do you prevent it from becoming a tale of two cities?
Wow. Ensuring equitable growth.
That might be the biggest challenge facing not just Detroit, but modern entrepreneurship everywhere.
Yeah.